Hey, and welcome to the HopCast.
Thanks for joining us once again on this momentous occasion.
Yeah, it's our 200th episode.
Woo! So thank you so much for watching all those and drinking with us throughout the years. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and if you don't know by now, I'm Brad Chmielewski.
And my name is Ken Hunnemeder.
And yeah, that's a lot of beers.
We've done quite a lot of beers. If you look at it, that's 400 beers.
Minimum 400.
Minimum, because we've done some specials. We've done
Doggy
some special
Claws,
events.
We did like 12.
Yeah. So we've done our fair share of drinking. We're not stopping anytime soon. So for this 200th episode, we thought we'd focus on some barrel-aged beers. So here we are in the Goose Island barrel aging facility.
Right, yeah, this is awesome. We're in here where it all happens, and birthplace of barrel aging beers, and it's great.
So yeah, we're gonna do some tasty beers here. We have a Russian Imperial Stout from Driftwood called Singularity.
And then from Firestone Walker, we got the Double DBA, which just came here, right? No. They had these here, but DBA just came here.
Exactly. So you can now taste both. If you had one of these bottles out here in Chicago, at least, of the Double DBA, you can see nowadays you can get your hands on one of the regular double barrel ales, as we covered in one of our previous episodes.
Right, a couple weeks ago with Matt. So
shut up. So yeah. Because the Double DBA is going to be a little bit less roasty, it's kind of like an imperial bitter that's barrel aged. No. And the Singularity is a Russian Imperial Stout. I think we'll start with the Firestone.
Sounds good.
And move on up.
Let's open it up, and we got to finish these beers too.
Oh yeah, we got it started before you guys showed up.
That poured out beautiful.
Yeah, it is a gorgeous ruby color on it.
We're getting we got a little bit of floaties in there.
Yeah, a little bit of yeast in there. Mine is actually quite clear. I had the first pour out of there, so mine looks.
I had the second or third pour.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the color's great. The head has kind of gone down a lot, but it was there a little bit.
Yeah, this is a pretty high alcohol beer, it being 12%. So that foam's not going to stay around too long, but all considering it's still covering the top of the beer there.
Yeah. And then you're, I think, probably more familiar with DBA because you do love that beer.
DBA might be my favorite beer. It's certainly up there, and so if I'm going to have a barrel-aged beer, why not be Double DBA? Yeah. So I'm always super excited to try this beer, have quite a bit of it in the cellar, and what better occasion to break one out than 200th episode.
Right, yeah. And then some DBA, this, as Matt explained, has a pretty interesting story, and because it's already in the barrels, right? It
ferments partially in barrels, so they're not really looking for. I mean, this isn't a previously used barrel; it's a fresh American oak barrel. They will get some oak character out of it, but there's no like spirit, there's no bourbon or anything like that coming out of that fermentation.
But then this is put into used bourbon barrels then, right?
Yes. From how I understand it, yeah, this is then they'll take basically the DBA recipe, ramp it up, and then once that beer is complete, age it in barrels once again. So whereas DBA is fermented in barrels, this beer is fermented in barrels and then aged in barrels.
All right. Okay.
Hence double barrel ale.
And at 12%, it's double trouble.
And double the trouble. So getting a lovely character on the nose. Got some nice fruitiness, a little oak.
Yeah, all that stuff you get from DBA, you get a little bit more of like the bourbon, or maybe the wood is a little heavier than DBA.
Yeah, because if you read the back of this packaging here, what they're aging the beer in is a blend of new American oak, so no spirit, and then also bourbon barrels. Okay. So you do get a little bourbon character on the nose, which you won't get in the regular DBA, right. But it's not like an overwhelming, punch in the face with that spirit. It's actually quite balanced and lovely.
Right. So let's do it.
Cheers.
Oh yeah.
Just such a nice soft touch on this beer, really rounded and balanced.
Yeah, and I think that's why I think I like the oak barrel aged beers even more, just because they are softer and maybe less boozy than the bourbon barrels, and so.
Yeah, the bourbon, it's hidden a little bit. You kind of have to search for it. The fruitiness really comes through on this beer. This is almost like, it's an imperial bitter is what they're calling it. Essentially, you could argue that that's just a barley wine.
Yeah.
This, in comparison to some other barley wines, has kind of like a lighter body. It's a little bit more drinkable, even for 12%.
Yeah, and less hop, because a lot of the barley wines have become heavily hopped. So.
Yeah, this would certainly be in the English barley wine category as opposed to American. They're not dosing with an exorbitant amount of hops, despite being on the West Coast. So
they got plenty of other beers that they put the hops in, so they're like, eh.
That's one of the great things about Firestone Walker is their ability to do barrel aging, hoppy beers, English session beers. Just they run the gamut, and everything is delicious out there. So,
so it's even more fitting that we're drinking this at Goose Island, because Matt's from Goose Island.
Yeah, Matt went to. If you saw our episode a couple back, we interviewed Matt, and good guy, came up through the Siebel ranks, Siebel Brewing Institute here in Chicago. Got his job at Goose Island, and then ventured off over to California and did some other projects as well. With opened up Peace and helped out with that brewery startup back in the day. But yeah, he kind of cut his teeth here at Goose Island. So what better way to salute to Matt than drinking here at the Goose Island Barrel facility? Well,
and this is such a great beer, and I'm sad it's 12% because it's so good, and I just want to keep drinking it. I got stuff to do, and I got to drive.
Yeah, but certainly if you have a chance to get to try it, or I mean, there's no sign of any oxidation or anything like that in this, so you could certainly keep it for a little while longer. This came out maybe a year ago or something like that.
It's been a year already? Wow.
Maybe 8 months, a year or something. But yeah, still drinking really, really nice. So cheers to Firestone Walker and Matt Brynildson over there. That's another excellent beer.
Cheers. All right, that double DBA went down pretty smooth.
Always treats you well.
Right.
So
I think there's still some in the bottle, which we may have to revisit.
Well, I can't see it just sitting to waste right there, so we'll drink it later.
But now we must press on.
Yeah, so in the meantime, we're going to move on to the Russian Imperial Stout from Driftwood. This is their Singularity, aged in bourbon barrels. So.
And this was sent to us by a HopCast fan.
Yes, much thanks, and a big shout out goes to Chris Fredrickson.
Shout out!
Thanks, man, for sending the beer. Looks like it's quite an acclaimed beer and one that's hard to get, so we really appreciate that. That was very nice.
Yeah, and we couldn't sit on it. We were just like, let's crack it open.
Yeah, screw that. I think it came in the mail like 2 days ago. Yeah. What's the point of aging it if you don't taste it first?
Yeah, we want to know. So let's pour it out and
let's do it.
Taste. Well, we got pretty much black.
Oh yeah, as you expect, dark as night, real deep tan color head.
Yeah, that's one of the darker heads, or it's almost like wood color.
It does look a little stavey.
I haven't seen that color on a head in a while. It's usually like off-white or a little tan. So this is an interesting color on that.
Yeah, so high percentage of roasted grains in this, obviously, and on the nose, get a little bit of bourbon.
Yeah, kind of like hot. It's got a hot aroma.
Mm-hmm. Kind of a tart, nail polishy thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, cheers.
Let's try it out. Huh.
It's not astringent at all. There's no like biting, roasty, acrid character to the malt, which is something I can't stand in strong
big stouts.
Yeah, big stouts. So that's nice.
Uh-huh. it has like that heat from the bourbon, and it's just like it's more of a whiskey kind of heat.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's like just hits you hard and then it goes away.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. You get kind of a burn in the top of your throat here. By the time it gets down here,
You're ready to go back.
yeah. There's a lot of fruity qualities to it as well. So not as roasty as some of your bigger stouts.
Yeah.
Does have some nice fruit character, a little bit of tartness.
Yeah. It seems like there's a lot going on here. I don't know much about this brewery, and I know I've been to Vancouver, and we ran into like 1 or 2 brew pubs, so I think the scene's kind of picking up more and more out there.
Yeah, I've heard of the brewery, Driftwood, but I think pretty sure this is my first beer I'm trying.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is one of their kind of version of a yearly release where, people line up and stuff like that. That's how Chris got this beer for us. So.
Yeah, some both interesting barrel-aged beers, both totally different barrel-aged beers in Goose Island here. Then we're surrounded by Sophie and Madame Rose, and they're doing totally different than these. So it just shows you that like you can put a lot of different stuff in the barrels and see what's going to happen.
And different kinds of barrels, and I mean, there's tons of different kinds of whiskey. You've got wine. There's all sorts of different kinds of barrels, so that are going to impart different flavors. And it's just exciting to see more experimentation with stuff like this, and it's fun to be able to celebrate that creativity.
Yeah, I think we're going to see more beers, like not stouts, but more, let's put a Pilsner in the barrel and see what that tastes like.
See what happens. Can't thank you enough once again for joining us for our 200th episode of HopCast.
It's great. Thanks for watching them all.
I can't even say I've done that. But yeah, here's to 200 more.
Cheers.
Cheers.